You need to remember these three things when cleaning your shop. Spring is right around the corner and my shop is in quite a bit of disarray. I'm using these tips to clean up, organize, and get motivated to work on my projects. So tip number one, use vertical storage in your shop whenever possible. Keeping as much floor space available is really important. Reducing the clutter on the floor helps you move more easily through your shop and also just makes you enjoy being out there a lot more. So to free up that space, use vertical storage. It's commonly underused in most shops. In my shop, that looks like shelving. One corner of my shop is all shelving, so I can store things like tools, paints, stains, anything, and just keep it out of the way, but close by if I need it. Store things up as high as you can safely reach, but be careful storing heavier objects. Try to keep those closer to the floor if possible. If you get this tip right, you'll find a lot more space around your shop. And if you don't currently have a vertical storage solution, consider buying or building some shelves into what you have right now. Taking the time to build in some shelves will really help your productivity in the end. Moving on to tip number two, try to keep things in sight. I'm sure you've heard the phrase out of sight, out of mind. That really doesn't apply here. While it's definitely good to store things away that you're not using every day, getting them out of sight is actually going to hurt you. So I actually use clear containers in my shop to keep things organized, but still in sight when I need them. When I'm looking for something, I can quickly scan through the contents of the box without even opening it. I also use a little bit of painter's tape and a marker to label all these as I go along. This not only helps me find things when I'm looking for them, but it's also really helpful for when I need to put them back. And it doesn't have to be expensive. The containers I'm using here are only about $1.50 a piece on Amazon. Link in the description if you're interested. Okay, so before our last tip, here's a couple bonus tips to help you out. The first is just to do a little bit at a time. I know it can be overwhelming walking out to your shop, seeing a huge mess, and then you just kind of leave and say, I'll get to it tomorrow. Just try to get started. Even if it's only 5 minutes, it's really going to be helpful, and those 5 minutes will stack up in the end, and you'll get the job done. Even when you're taking small bites, you'll get there faster than you think. Bonus tip number two, if you have a lot of small similar items, like I have here, my hand tools, just group them together for now and come back at the end to sort through them all and find where they actually should go. By doing this, you're going to be less overwhelmed and free to think of the bigger picture of cleaning your shop. Plus, a lot of these items are going to the same place, so if you wait till the end, they're all already together, and you just have to make one trip to the bin you're putting them in. That brings us to our final tip, which is probably the most important. If you've ever noticed yourself lacking the motivation to go out and work on your projects, it's likely you're not doing this properly. So the most important tip is to keep things as easily accessible as possible. If you reduce that activation energy and the time it takes to get started, you'll find yourself out in your shop a lot more and working on your projects. And on top of that, you'll have a lot more fun doing it. It's always hard to get started, but once you're in the flow of things, it's really fun to be out there and building stuff. So what I'm not saying here is everything has to be stored away to have a clean shop. I would say everything needs a place and everything should be in that place. But that place doesn't have to be in a container on a shelf behind 3 other containers. It could look like putting a tool on a shelf, but sometimes it looks like putting a tool in a designated spot on your workbench. If you find yourself consistently going back to that tool, there's no reason to put it away. But if you do need to store something that you use frequently, try to keep it at waist or chest level so it's easily accessible the next time you need to grab it. Make it easy on your future self and enjoy your hobby. So those are the tips. If you have any others, drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.